Hey there, my name is Alex. I am the Silver Mont, and this is my review of Destiny 2's latest expansion, Lightfall. Big features of the expansion, new subclass, Strand, and we'll start with that. Being themed around weaving threads of reality, Strand is definitely not side R to Stasis's Sidene. Despite being green, it has no poison going on, but it does have a rather fancy grappling hook, which replaces the grenade. Or it can do. You can also still have grenades if you want. You can hook onto things and zip around. You can hook onto thin air, if you so choose. Is it worth replacing a grenade for? Maybe. It can certainly be fun to grapple onto rockets or another player's Sparrow and go zooming off. That's probably the best part, actually. As for the rest of Strand, well, you can suspend targets, you can unravel them, and perhaps the most unique aspect, summon threadlings, little creatures that will seek out enemies and explode. It's the nearest you can be to a summoner, I guess. The new, well, since Beyond Light, which is kind of all those point, but the new aspect and fragment system allows you to build Strand in various ways. But I did find myself rather disappointed with the Titan's specific Strand features. The melee is punching things, and the super is also punching things. Oh, it can be effective, but is it creative? No, because ultimately, a lot of Titan supers just involve you walking around and punching things. An alternative melee and a second super is something that Strand and Stasis would both benefit from, in my opinion. Lightfall came with a rework to roaming supers to make them more attractive, but as is rather typical, they didn't exactly focus on the underlying reason people used the one-and-done supers in the first place. They were just like, oh, why aren't people using roaming supers? This just makes them a bit stronger. And nerfing the one-and-done supers didn't exactly help with the underlying problem there. Strand is used sparingly throughout the new campaign, but it's frustrating more than anything as you have a different version than what you'll actually be using once it's unlocked, which is kind of dumb. Why are we training and practicing with something that doesn't resemble the final product all that much? There are moments in the campaign where it forces you to use this alternate Strand, which is a nuisance when doing it on Legendary. Overall though, once you have the full version of Strand, I think it's a fun enough addition to the game, even if it needs a little work, and specifically for the Titan, some variety. As for the campaign, well, it kinda sucked. As many people have pointed out, you can take the start and ending cinematics from Lightfall, stitch them together, and that's everything important that happened. In between that, you just have what is essentially a filler arc from Naruto that nobody remembers, or likes, or cares about. The scope of the expansion feels comically small. We go to an entire new planet and we meet two people, because everyone else in the city is computer. Stop all the downloading. These two characters are bland and predictable, and one of them is a huge mood killer, as Nimbus is constantly quipping and making awful jokes that don't fit at all with the high stakes and what should be a tense tone. It's one of the things that I hated about vanilla Destiny 2. The game's tone was a nightmare. This very dramatic moment where you lose your light and you're, escaping the city and climbing over the mountains and all that. And then you have Cade being like, backflips and donkeys and jokes. Meh. But some of the actual gameplay and missions were fine. But everything related to the story or the plot just felt like a waste of time. Strand feels shoehorned in, too. Almost as if Lightfall didn't originally need to exist, and we would have grabbed Strand in the Witch Queen. The expansion where lots of things were green themed, and we had all this, deep sight or whatever, where we were doing jumping stuff around the throne world, and being in a throne world made more sense for Strand to exist, with the strands of reality than just randomly popping up in a city on Neptune, but whatever. This whole expansion should have been the opening mission to the actual final act, but whatever. The legendary difficulty campaign also felt bizarre at times. There were moments where the balance of it went completely out the window, with the game seemingly expecting you to deal with just completely random nonsense being thrown at you. Some of the boss encounters just became frustrating, as some expected you to use an unupgraded strand, and others just threw 10,000 things at you and were like, yeah, enjoy, I guess. But then it was probably balanced around one developer who was playing Well of Radiance Warlock and just ignoring things by standing in his well and chunking them. Who knows? Gambit went untouched, as it has been for 22 centuries. Crucible is still horrible. With a funny note, I somehow went flawless in Trials of Osiris, playing like freelancer before Lightfall launched. I don't know how that happened. I guess the planets and the stars aligned, and I got really lucky because I'm not good at PvP. The game's overwhelmingly confusing approach for new players was supposedly being reworked with Guardian ranks, but those are awful, frankly. In essence, the game just gives you a checklist of things to do, which are seemingly arbitrarily sort of ordered, as they don't really seem to be anything like a beginner does this, an expert does that. It's just like, nah, here's just random list of stuff. A new player can reach the same rank as a veteran with thousands of hours in no time at all, rendering it functionally useless. The experience for a new player is still just as baffling as before. I have a friend who would like to play Destiny, but every time they open it up, they're like, what is going on here? It's like the game's just throwing stuff at me. It's like, no. I guess I need to make like a starter guide or something, but overall, there's a lot of disappointing aspects to this expansion. Especially after I thought the Witch Queen and Beyond Light were fairly solid, even if Stasis ruined Crucible completely for a while. But let's end on a positive, shall we? The graphics, visuals, soundtrack, all great, as they have been consistently for Destiny 2. Performance-wise, I have no issues with the game, other than physics problems tied to the frame rate, where if you're at a higher frame rate, some things just mess up and you get annihilated, whereas you wouldn't at a lower frame rate. But that's been a problem for a while now. The new exotics are, well, they aren't all amazing, but for the most part, I think there's a good number of cool exotics. The new Stasis Bow, for example, made me actually kind of enjoy playing Stasis Titan for a bit. The Stasis Glaive is pretty cool. And the new secret or exotic mission which was discovered was really fun to go through, even if I must admit I couldn't solo the final boss because on his third phase it just became a nightmare, so I had to summon some randos to help me out there, act as meat shields. Best new feature? Loadouts being in the game. No more needing third-party sites just to change a loadout. That should have been in years ago, but whatever. Strange how some loadout slots are locked behind, well, Guardian rank stuff, but oh well. Bit of a dud, otherwise though. Campaign, new experimental features that don't seem to have improved the game as much as I hoped they would. But, well, Bungie will hopefully listen to players, take into account player feedback going forwards, and adjust the game as needs be. Until next time though, thanks so much for watching. Hope this review was useful, or helpful, or entertaining, and I'll catch you real soon.